You know, in America, we have great sporting traditions. Kentucky Derby, Masters, World Series, Super Bowl. This one should go right up there with it. This thing started in 1890. This is the 125th game of Army Navy. But this just has a real different feel to it. You got Army is 11-1. You got Navy that is 8-3 on the season.
Hey.
Army's got a quarterback, Bryson Daly. He's got over 2,300 all-purpose yards. He's accounted for 37 touchdowns. Of course, they run the triple option and the wishbone, so he does a lot of things. Navy's got a throwing quarterback that they've really never, ever had before. His name is Blaine Horvath. He's thrown for over 1,100 yards, and he runs the football. He's accounted for 24 touchdowns. But the thing that's fascinating to me, if you look at that picture out on the field, that is the parade of the cadets and the midshipmen that go out and line up on the field before the game actually starts. It is so cool to experience. And the memories of this thing, this thing is going to be played in Maryland this weekend. It's been played at Yankee Stadium, at the Polo Grounds, at Soldier Field. Preponderance of the games have been played in Philadelphia, have also played in Annapolis and at West Point. And all are their memories of stars who played Army versus Navy. If you're a football fan, you must know who Joe Bellino is. You must know who Roger Staubach is. Back in the day, do you ever remember hearing about Glenn Davis, Bob Anderson, the lonesome end, and Raleigh Stitchway, the quarterback? Those are all the stars of Army versus Navy going way back into college football. The parade of the cadets and the midshipmen, the presentation of the colors. My God, your heart stops. It's in your throat. You get so emotional. It's really a slice of Americana. And then when they're done, the players salute all the cadets and all the midshipmen who are in full gear in the stadium. It is the coolest experience. It's not only the 125th year of a historic rivalry. It's about pride. It's about the meaning of their careers for these young men. It's not just about the game, which is really damn important. It's about their future and their lives and what they're putting on the line for Americans. Because these kids are all going to be commissioned officers. And guys that played in it never forget it. And they will break away from the telecast on Saturday. And they will go to Iraq. And they'll go to other places where our men and women are deployed. And they'll be sitting there watching the game, either rooting Army or rooting for Navy. It is such a cool, cool experience. And one very emotional story I'll tell you about my experience. Now, I came from military family. We watched it as a kid growing up. I watched it all the time because my dad was Navy. Two of my brothers are Army. My whole family, extended family, fought in World War II. A couple died, 7 in all survived. Bobby Ross coached at Army after he left the NFL, had been with the Chargers, went to Detroit, and wound up at West Point. He told me a story. He didn't show me the letter, but he told me a story the last year he was at West Point. He was there for 3 years and had to step aside because of health issues. He got a letter from a commissioned officer, I think it was in Iraq, who had maybe a week and a half before the game, who saluted Coach Ross for his accomplishments at Georgia Tech and what he did in the NFL. And he just put into words what Army versus Navy meant to him. Bobby, 2 days before the game, was notified that commissioned officer who had written that letter had died in combat. Oh. So he read the letter to his players at dinner the night before the game. I guess wasn't a dry eye in the whole place. So this is more than a football game. This has such meaning. And do you know? I mean, these two teams have gone through some phenomenal seasons. 1940s Army and Navy were national powers in the ratings every week. Biggest game was Army versus Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium. Army and Navy has always been a big game. Do you know that this is the first time since 1960? That was a few third downs ago.
Yeah.
Since 1960, that Army and Navy were both rated simultaneously in the top 20 in the AP poll. And both have had great seasons, 11-1, 8-3. So this game means so much. And you may not be an Army Navy fan, but you got to tune into the pregame just to experience it and understand what it is. It is such a cool thing. And I went to one at West Point. And I walked across the campus, and then you walk down to Michi Stadium, and you get down this long sidewalk, and right there is the stadium, and right beyond the stadium is the Hudson River. I mean, it is so cool. So anyhow, that's my story about Army versus Navy. That is the game to watch. Just pay attention to the pregame ceremonies. I grant you, John, you won't forget it.
I love how much you love this, because you're a big history buff, a military buff, your family, you've told me stories. You've shown me pictures. Was it your father or your brother that was on the ship when the Japanese surrendered in World War II?
That's my uncle.
Your uncle, excuse me. Pardon me.
My father's brother. Journalist.
And he was a journalist. Yeah. I mean, you've shared so many stories with me about your family and in the military. And I get it. Well, it means so much to you and so much to people all across America and the troops serving all around the globe. It's odd for me. I don't come from a military family, so I don't have that kind of connection to it. And so for the Army Navy game, for me, it's just been kind of an interesting curiosity because it's usually never one of the top teams, in the rankings. Every once in a while they're up there. But, I'm going to make a point of watching it, especially the pregame, because because of you, I really watched the pregame and the pageantry of the Indy 500, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It was really special. I need to do the same thing for Army Navy.
Yeah, you see the cadets and the midshipmen march in and then line up on the field like that picture displays, and then you see the anthem and the colors and the flyover. Oh, it is so cool. It is so different, and to understand what those players are doing with their lives. And this football game is really important in your West Point or your Annapolis. But their lives after they get commissioned is equally important. And then you'll see shots in the stands of the players during or the cadets and the middies during the game. They're going crazy.
Yeah.
It is like I say, slice of Americana. At least it should be equal to what I think is the Masters and the U.S. Open and the Indy 500 and World Series and the Super Bowl. It's just cool.
Well, they seem to have a weekend really just focused on this because is there any other college football games going on?
Just the small college playoffs. This is a standalone event.
Yeah, that makes it special.
That really is. Army Navy. I don't know. You come from a military background. What was your experience? Feel free. Jump on board Fans Forum.